I cannot tear myself away from Moonlight Peaks at the moment, but there is one thing about the game that has been irking this vampire, and that is, of course, the stamina, or should I say, lack of it. So today we're going to do a deep dive into the stamina system, go over everything you need to know, tips for managing it, the best ways to replenish it, and what changes are on the horizon from the developers, because thankfully they have listened to our player concerns. Don't forget to subscribe for more Moonlight Peaks content, but let's get into the video. Before we get into how to manage your energy, you first need to understand how the stamina system actually works in this game, and thankfully it is pretty straightforward. If you perform an action such as digging, mining, chopping, your bar in the top left-hand corner will go down until it is fully depleted, and from there you'll be unable to perform the activity any longer. When you attempt to do it when your bar is depleted, you will receive a little notification saying that you are too tired. The majority of farming, thankfully, will not consume stamina. For example, harvesting your crops, refilling your watering can, and watering your crops will not consume energy. But if you want to expand your farming enterprise, I would highly recommend that you have some energy at the ready, as you will need to clear out the areas to plant the seeds. Your stamina will be replenished each night when you awake from your coffin, and you can regain it through eating food as well. Players have complained that stamina does deplete quite quickly, and there are some key culprits for this currently in the game. For example, when you shake trees, when you miss a bug with your net, and also when you have cast out your reel and you miss a fish. These will all cost you stamina, which could arguably be considered very harsh. The main problem with this is that bug and soul blob catching in the game are not the easiest, and I'm not lying to you when I have spent nearly my whole stamina bar trying to catch one bug. It's quite embarrassing to admit, but I don't think I'm alone in that. Thankfully though, the devs have listened to these concerns, and hopefully very soon, and if not already when you're watching this video, this patch will have been released which will fix this problem. The devs could possibly afford to go a bit further with this. At present, I'm not aware of a passive way to restore stamina during the day. Other farming sims have things such as a bathhouse, so perhaps there is space for something like this to be added later in the game if it's not already there and I haven't yet unlocked it. But we could do with something like this early on, so perhaps something like a small amount of energy can be replenished just from sitting down, or even the possibility of being able to nap in our coffin. Anything like this would be a welcome bonus. Mining and chopping does take a lot of hits, and obviously this is to encourage players to upgrade your tools, but it does feel quite unnecessarily harsh in the beginning, so there is potentially scope to reduce the number of hits and the energy for doing these actions. They could even do something as simple as increasing the amount of stamina obtained from the cooking recipes that we have in the beginning of the game, or arguably increase the beginning game stamina bar itself. There is a way to increase your stamina, but from what I can establish, this is quite late on in the game. I'm already halfway through summer and it's still not available to me, and this does require you to collect the red crystals that you may have already seen whilst exploring. Either way, changes are coming soon, and it's a good thing they are listening to make the player experience more enjoyable. So with that out of the way, let's get into the best ways to regenerate that stamina bar to allow you to play through the night. I just said that food will replenish your stamina, but unlike other games, this is not all food. Some crops, animal drops, and fish will restore a tiny amount of stamina, but you are a vampire, and because of this, you have to think about what things a vampire would like. And that means blood. When it comes to deciding what crops to plant and focus on, consider blood tomatoes, blood oranges, and blood grapes, as these can be used in recipes that will provide you with more energy than other ones that use the standard crops. I really like this idea that we are playing as a vampire after all, so I love that they've kind of added that touch in. However, it does mean that it is a little bit harder to come by these things. In the very beginning, consider focusing on blood tomatoes tomatoes and onions, as these can be turned into gazpacho, which as the base will restore around 40 energy. The farmer's stew also uses tomatoes and eggplants, and that will restore 25 stamina. These are both good, as the seeds for these can be found from the dig spots as an uncommon drop, so you may already have some growing on your farm for free. If you have already done a lot of fishing, you may have already caught some violet. If you have managed to get your hands on this fish, make sure that you're going to the cooking station and chopping and turning this into sushi for extra stamina. This is a good one to use as stamina food, as it only requires one ingredient, so it's super quick. As you progress in the game, Mina will also begin to sell more recipes in the coffee shop. I did purchase the sushi recipes early on, but I don't recommend doing this until you have the mill and the food dryer going, as it requires dry seaweed and rice. This is also a note: don't sell your seaweed early on. I did, and I regret it greatly. However, as you do get further along, keep your eyes peeled for the Cooking for Vampires recipe book. You do receive a little notification in the mail, but it does contain quite a few recipes that provide high energy amounts for consumption. If you don't want to cook and you currently have a lot of gold sitting around waiting to be spent, firstly, give some to me, and then secondly, head over to the Broken Lamp and purchase the blood orange juice. There are quite a few pre-cooked items that you can buy from either the coffee shop or the inn. However, this one is by far the best value for your gold. This costs 350 gold, and in return, once you've consumed it, you will get 112 energy, which will max out your energy bar if you have the base stamina levels. In an attempt to kind of reduce how much money I'm spending at the bar, I have already bought and planted a blood orange tree. So at the moment, I'm kind of waiting for this to spawn. Like other farming sims, the trees do take a long time to grow, but top tip, you don't have to water them. As you get further into the game, you will also unlock magical fruits with Luna, and some of these will be good for replenishing that stamina, including things such as the moon fruit juice. The 1-starred juice variety provided me with over 60 stamina. I would say though, it is worth noting that the moon fruits can be used in some recipes that do sell for a considerable amount of gold, so it's kind of worth factoring that into your decision on what you're going to focus on when it comes to stamina food. So that is what to eat to regain some stamina. What about ways to avoid depleting it? The obvious answer here is spells. Once you have unlocked your wand, there are numerous spells available to be purchased from the Web of Wonder shop. Not all of these are going to help you out in the stamina department, but there are certain mythical options that can help you out with mining and even chopping trees. These will cost you quite a bit of gold, but stamina is also a very valuable commodity too, so it's kind of worthwhile the investments. Once you have your farm animals and tool upgrades underway, then maybe think about the spells next. Another thing that is worth noting is that I did receive a specific potion from the Lovage Festival, and this one allowed me to chop wood without sacrificing my stamina. I've also heard people talk about this for mining as well, and this was for a specific time period. In the beginning, I did think that this was going to be like a permanent feature, and I got very excited. However, if you go into your inventory once the buff is active, you can keep an eye on the timer. Although I did get a little bit bored chopping wood for an entire day, this was such a help to restore some of my wood stockpile, and I hope that we come across more potions like this in the future. I briefly mentioned the tool upgrades, but something I want to go into a little bit more detail on, because this is another thing that you can focus on spending your money on to reduce your energy spend, because the higher the tier of the upgrades on your tools, the less energy you will consume performing the actions. Tool upgrades are purchased from Ridge's Carpentry store, and they are quite expensive, and they will also require the relevant ore bars to complete the upgrade, so don't just think it's all about the money. I am currently trying to focus on upgrading my tools. I haven't noticed a huge difference, but I guess every little helps. If you are still depleting your energy early on in the night, there is still lots of things that you can do in the game that doesn't require stamina at all. This includes things such as foraging for flowers and items, beachcombing for shells, gifting the NPCs, and when you have unlocked them, the other activities in the game, such as the Nocturna card game. Clearly, this isn't going to be a solution to the stamina issue, but it does help make your day feel that little bit more productive. I also think it's a good thing to remember that having an early night in the morning in the game isn't such a bad thing. Just like in real life, we could all do with some extra sleep. So that is everything you need to know about stamina. I hope you found this helpful, and if you have any other tips, please drop them in the comments below. Have a great rest of your day. Happy playing. Bye bye.